During the Diablo IV Open Beta, players will have 4 separate events or opportunities to defeat the world boss Ashava. There is a sort of exploit that will allow you to defeat Ashava multiple times per event, netting loads of legendary items and multiple scattered prisms. All you need to do is, after defeating Ashava and collecting the loot that drops, open the menu and click Leave Game. Then start the game with the same character. Ideally, you'll enter a new world or instance where Ashava is still alive and almost defeated. Contribute to defeating the boss in that world, gather the loot, then repeat the process over again. You can keep doing this until the world boss timer runs out, which is 15 minutes. Because of the limited time, you'll need to defeat Ashava quickly, so this guide will also cover how to best prepare for the fight with Ashava and particularly effective strategies for dealing damage to her. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. First off, the basics. During the beta, Ashava will spawn in the Crucible of the Fractured Peaks at 4 specific times. She will spawn on Saturday, March 25th, 10 AM, 12 PM, and 10 PM PDT, and Sunday, March 26th at 12 AM PDT. If you're not exactly sure when that will be in your local time zone, don't worry too much. A big-mouthed portal will appear in the Crucible, and a countdown timer will be visible on the map in the 30 minutes leading up to Ashava's spawn. After spawning, Ashava will remain for just 15 minutes, so you'll need to do a lot of damage in order to defeat her in time. Now the goal is to defeat Ashava quickly, pick up the loot, then leave game or log out of your character, then log back into a new world where Ashava is still alive to be defeated again. And do this as many times as possible within the world boss time limit. As a quick tangent, be careful that you don't hit exit Diablo 4, as this will exit out of the application to your desktop and you will have to log back into your whole account, with potential queue times. Back to defeating Ashava multiple times, this whole process works a lot better with a full group of high-level players. If you have 4 people working together, you can all be looking for the best world or instance to fight Ashava in, and then have whoever finds that world invite everyone to a group so they can be transported over to it. In addition, if the majority of players in the group are effective damage dealers, then Ashava will go down a lot quicker, which translates to more defeats per event and more loot. To that end, let's get into the actual fight and how to handle Ashava's attacks. Ashava deals a combination of physical and poison damage. Because of this, rings and amulets that boost poison resistance are recommended. This resistance can be further augmented by taking crude emeralds found in dungeons and converting them into chipped emeralds at the jeweler in Moveset. When slotted into amulets or rings, each chipped emerald will increase poison resistance by 14.3%. You can also craft weak elixirs of poison resistance at the alchemist in Moveset. It's the same NPC that you go to for upgrading the strength of your healing potions. You can use the elixir in the consumable section of your inventory before the fight starts, as it lasts for 30 minutes and persists through death. Ashava is a single tanky boss and does not summon any adds throughout the fight. This means that single target damage is going to be key for defeating her quickly. I played as a sorcerer and have 2 methods of dealing great single target damage, but before going over that, let's discuss Ashava's moveset and how to stay alive while fighting her. In general, Ashava leaps around a lot, so you'll need to constantly reposition. Because she takes up such a large area, it's difficult to move around while near her if you are using the default controls. I recommend mapping the force move input to an extra mouse button or easily accessed key so that you can use it to move around more deliberately while near Ashava. I did not have this option set up when I fought Ashava and died many times because of it. Ashava will snap at players standing directly in front of her, and this move is particularly dangerous and hard to dodge if you are targeted, but if you avoid standing right in front of Ashava, you most likely won't be targeted by it. At high health, Ashava will use a single claw to do an area attack that is indicated by a visible circle outline leading up to the attack. If you are standing in the center of the circle when it appears, it is hard to avoid. Fortunately, it does not seem to deal one-shot levels of damage. You may think to keep your distance from Ashava to avoid those close range attacks, but that will put you in the perfect range to be hit by her 2 sweeping wing attacks, which cover a large area and are almost always one-shots. You can actually avoid these longer range attacks if you are standing close to Ashava. Once Ashava's health lowers past the first notch, she will begin using a poison breath attack. This is pretty easy to avoid, and as long as you don't stand in the residual puddles of poison for extended durations, you'll be okay. At around half health, Ashava will begin using a new move where she slams 2 claws into the ground around her, dealing an initial burst of area damage. She will follow up by raking her claws back, one-shotting pretty much anyone they hit. You can usually avoid the rake if you are standing beneath Ashava's belly, right along her midline, but getting clear to either side of Ashava is also an option. And that's all of Ashava's unique moves. As her health continues to lower, she will start cycling through those moves faster, but her overall tactics won't change much. Now, of course, if you do die, the quickest way to get back into the fight is to just respawn at the checkpoint. As long as you aren't doing this excessively, your equipment should be okay. If you die too often, your equipment will break, as indicated by the debuff icon near the evade meter on your interface. In that case, you'll need to make a quick trip back to Kiovashad to repair it at the blacksmith, then return through your own portal. It doesn't take too long, but every second counts. Now let's talk about damage dealing strategies. The Sorcerer currently has 2 of the most effective methods to deal massive single target damage, and both will require completion of the level 15 Sorcerer quest, Legacy of the Magi. Doing this quest will unlock the Enchantment mechanic for the Sorcerer, which gives special passive bonuses based on what ability is slotted into the enchantment spot under the skills menu. The first method uses Chain Lightning with the recharging aspect. You can unlock the recharging aspect in the Codex of Power by completing the Zenith dungeon in Malthus' Perch. You can imprint this aspect onto a ring at the Occultist in Kiovashad. It causes Chain Lightning to restore 4 mana each time it bounces off of you. Against a single target, Chain Lightning will bounce off of you a total of 5 or 6 times, restoring around 24 of the 35 mana points used to cast it. This will allow you to cast Chain Lightning against a single target, like Ashava, many times before running out of mana. To improve this strategy, equip gear that lowers the mana cost of spells. There is also another aspect which you can find on legendaries that gives Chain Lightning a chance to chain 2 additional times. Finally, equip Chain Lightning to the enchantment slot in your skills menu to cast an additional free Chain Lightning after every 100 mana consumed, which will be after every 3 normal casts of Chain Lightning. All of this will allow you to cast Chain Lightning many times before running out of mana. If you're lucky enough, you'll find a legendary that has a more powerful form of the recharging aspect on it, which regenerates 6 mana per Chain Lightning bounce. With that aspect, you'll basically never run out of mana while casting Chain Lightning against a single target, and can just spam it non-stop for massive amounts of damage. If you equip the Unstable Currents ultimate, you can use it whenever it's off cooldown to further enhance the damage of this method. The second method to deal lots of damage with the Sorcerer is based around the Ice Blades ability and their enchantment slot effect. First, Ice Blades are conjured for 6 seconds and slash enemies for damage, with a 30% chance to give them the vulnerable debuff. Second, the Ice Blade enchantment effect is that for every 20 seconds in cooldown spent, a free set of Ice Blades are summoned on a random enemy. Seconds are spent when a cooldown ability is used. So if you use the Deep Freeze Frost ultimate ability, it counts as spending around 60 seconds in cooldowns and will spawn 3 Ice Blades instantly when used. Hopefully I explained that well enough, because this next part is where it gets really broken and overpowered. The enhanced Ice Blades ability causes Ice Blades cooldown to be reduced by 1 second each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. In addition, getting the summoned Ice Blades ability extends 50% of that cooldown reduction to all other cooldown based skills. Ice Blades already have a 30% chance to make an enemy vulnerable every time it hits them, but there are many other ways to inflict the vulnerable condition with other Frost skills, Mystical Frost Nova being one example. So the goal of this method is to use a lot of cooldown abilities, Ice Blades, Frost Nova, Ice Armor, and Deep Freeze, which will passively summon many more Ice Blades through its enchantment effect. The many Ice Blades will begin hitting your vulnerable target, which will rapidly reset all the timers on your cooldown abilities, which can be used again to summon even more Ice Blades. This sets up a positive feedback loop where Ice Blade attacks give faster cooldowns, which results in even more Ice Blades, which results in progressively faster cooldowns. Within seconds, you'll have built up an army of Ice Blades to swarm Ashava and burn down her health. I haven't personally used this method against Ashava, but I have used it against other spongy bosses and the results are amazing. If you know of any overpowered ability combos for either the Rogue, Barbarian, Necromancer, or Druid, please share them in the comments below. All that's left to do then is show up at the Crucible before the event starts, bring along some friends, and take down Ashava as many times as possible. My group managed to defeat Ashava a total of 6 times during the last 2 events of the previous beta weekend. Credit to my friends Crazy Flips for coming up with this simple yet effective method to farm Ashava multiple times per event. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Friday and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.